This show today is brought to you by the good people at Miracle Food and ChocolateDoctor.org. Now, if you're looking to get into 2021 with a health plan, if you're looking to get healthier in 2021, I strongly suggest you go over to ChocolateDoctor.org and check out and try his product, Miracle Food. I am testimony that this product is absolutely unbelievable, good for the immune system to help, and a great way to reboot if you're looking to change your ways in 2021. Don't wait. Go to ChocolateDoctor.org. Tell them Viral Hip Hop News sent you. Let's go.
Actually happened. So seeing that they didn't drop it was, when I was really like, something fishy going on more so. But it wasn't fully until I came home where I fully understood how they actually framed me, the police, on top of the girl actually lying and getting being in cahoots with them all for real.
Now, you said, and you said you know who did it. You said the community knew who did it. You're sitting in a preliminary hearing, your life in jeopardy. Did you and your lawyers at any point ever kind of talk about maybe you telling? Now, obviously, we know the code of the street, and we know that obviously where you live, that code was probably very strong, and you stood by those morals. Therefore, you did time in jail. But was there ever a conversation between you and your lawyers like, hey, man, if you know who did this, I said, I only suggest you say something?
Yeah, nah. It was never a thought of my mind. My energy was everything towards I didn't do it, and it's not my job to say who did it. Right. Besides the street code, politically, it's not my job. That's what y'all get paid for and so forth. So it built my fight, that much more stronger. Like, oh, nigga, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get that. And it's like, it's like you keeping it solid too. You know what I mean? So now you're really confident on some shit like, it's a tough situation, in general, because that's my man's who had got killed. And then, it was somebody I was also connected to, who I did, who I did it or whatnot. So in the streets, knowing these things, it's like, oh, that nigga keeping it solid. So if I win, I come home to, to all the glory it is to actually beat a murder case, even when you did do it. So imagine when you beat the murder case and you didn't do it, all the glory, that you ultimately gonna get, how much content I could put out of being this real nigga, in the streets, and I was doing music, and so having that, and then all the shit I already done in the streets and on all the money and everything, it just really built up to be this. If I beat this case, I'm golden through everywhere I go. You know what I mean? And it ain't nothing.
Right.
My bad, y'all. Hold on, my fucking phone is ringing on this thing.
So good.
I don't know why it's doing that. Okay.
All right. So all right. So the person that maintained that you did it, did they testify in court? And what was your react? If they did testify, how did you take that, knowing that they was lying on you in court?
Well, when she had testified, it was, I still couldn't believe it. When she got up there, it was just like, it was tears. It was all of that. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I had some hatred in my heart. I was mad. I wanted, what the hood thought is like when somebody's getting up on a stand and shit like that, you want them dead, like on some shit in your mind. You know what I mean? If you act on it, that's that's another sign of almost like like guilt or whatnot. And as much as I felt like I wanted to act on it, by way of sending some goons, and shit like that at her or whatnot, and putting it together like that. It was just more so like, we're just gonna catch you up in your lies, and that's what it came down to. The first trial, I believe we did. It just, sometimes when it comes down to the jury and the shit that the DA was saying, ultimately led to me getting convicted, but also led to me getting my appeal granted because there was prosecutorial misconduct that led to ineffective assistance of counsel. So with doing it that way, I mean, I just feel like it was meant, it was meant for me to get convicted, but also meant for me to come back, meant for me to win my case, also meant for me to come home and and prove that the police actually framed me.
What were your feelings on police then, and what are your feelings on police now? If it changed at all?
Yeah, I never fucked with the police, like, period. You know what I mean? I understand why they're around, to a degree to, protect and serve certain people, but never my people. Police were the enemies. And even as I roll and I see them today, I'm still looking at them as the enemy. And because I feel like that I'm always being judged, just being black in general, being in a city where you stand out in. San Francisco, was, 1960, 1970, we had 13.6% black people in San Francisco. Now we got 2.5%. So if you black in San Francisco, then they typically deem you being from the hood. So that's an easy pullover. That's an easy, you're doing some type of criminal, activity. So, I go to Oakland to get away with being black.
So to the conviction. So normal person, you sitting in there, you in court, the jury comes in, they actually convict you to 50 to life or like what was it?
The jury convicts,
Right.
They give the verdict, and then it's up to the judge to pass down the sentencing.
Now, what'd you get sentenced to?
I got sentenced to 50 to life in prison.
All right, so take us to that day. You got sentenced, your sentencing day comes up, you get sentenced to 50 to life. What goes through your mind when that verdict comes down?
What's crazy is that I knew that I was gonna get convicted, right? First of all, after my trial, because the jury had they brought me down because the jury had a question, and the jury was trying to find out what's the difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder. And at that point, I knew that they were just trying to figure out which one they was gonna hand down. So, from there, it was kind of fucked up. And I mean, I didn't get my day in court to where I'm like, wait, not guilty. Kind of like how I did in my second trial. But then when I got sentenced to 50 to life, I had some new evidence that I found after, and that's what ultimately led me to after I got convicted about how, the police framed me, because I met a guy by the name of Oliver Barcenas. He was in the cell with me after I got convicted. He came from San Bruno to San Francisco. He was on to 850 Bryant on his way to the pen. And he was like, "Hey, your last name Trulove?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I remember being at the police station like back in 06 or 07 or some shit like that." I'm like, "Oh yeah, for real." I'm like, "Oh, that's when my case happened." And he's like, "Yeah, I remember this Samoan girl coming in crying, and these two detectives, and come to find out he was at the police station at the exact same time everything had happened, and he remembered them saying Jamal Trulove. Are you sure it ain't Jamal Trulove?" Pointing at a picture, and the girl saying no.
Damn.
So then when we used him to and then so what that shined a light on for me is the question that I had: why was my picture out of this 6-pack lineup the only picture that was brought up on the day that the crime actually happened, but everybody else's picture was dated 2 days later? So from what his testimony was, that picture was brought up on that day because they been had it on me, like trying to get me, as in if I did it. They didn't get her to say that I did it until 2 days later, when she ultimately said, "That looks like the person that could have shot Sale. Is that Jamal Trulove?" And then that's when they assured her, "Yes, that's Jamal." And then she said, "Yeah, I want to say it's him. I'm almost 100% sure." Like, bitch, you gotta be 100% sure. There ain't no almost, there ain't no none of that. But that's why they never brought charges on me, because it was too tedious, right? It was, I don't know, it could be. But then once they got that other girl to say that I did it, and the police wrote it up as extremely credible, and they tweaked they little twerks and shit like that, ultimately is why they got the warrant. But in my civil case, if I would have thought about this in my criminal case, I probably would have never got convicted. But in my civil case, I asked the judge. I told my attorney to ask the judge, can we look at the original homicide file? Because there was already so much shit I discovered that the police did and was doing in general in between that whole time. So I asked for the original homicide file, and the judge granted it. And when you looked at the original homicide file, you seen that they was writing in pen, pencil, and marker. So the stuff that led to my innocence was like the trajectory of the bullet wounds. The trajectory of the bullet wounds didn't line up from her story. From her story, trajectory of the bullet wounds would have been from the left to the right, but they weren't. They was from the right to the left. And then when it come down to the shell casings was supposed to be in the street, because 95% of guns are right-handed guns, and the hole where the shell cases come out is on the right-hand side, so it goes from the right into the rear. But the shell cases are all the way up here in front and to the left, almost in a line. So when the autopsy lady gave her report to them, they wrote it down, but they seen that it was a mess up, so they erased it in pencil. They wrote it in pencil, erased it. And then when it come down to the ballistics, that they had wrote down, like it looks like it's in a line, basically, on some shit like that. They end up doodling. Doodling. Well, they said they were doodling, but they end up scratching it out, using a marker to bubble it in and put like a circle around it, and then they said that they was doodling. But then once you take the original and you look up in the light, you see exactly what they wrote, and you see exactly what they did. So once I was able to do that, I knew I had my case was a slam dunk. I planned on. That was like 2 weeks before the ending of my case. You know what I mean? I knew 2 weeks before I was winning my civil case, period. Now, I was confident going in. That just built my confidence even more. So but if I would have had that in my criminal trial,